Welcome. Today we're jumping right in to demystify the latest draft version of the European Sustainability Reporting Standard on Pollution. That's ESRS E2. We're going to break down what it actually requires and then, more importantly, how you can manage all of that using a digital approach. So, let's get into it.
And really, this is the core question for so many out there, right? You're looking at this dense regulatory text and you're thinking, how on earth do we turn this into a smooth, data-driven process that actually works? Well, that's the puzzle we're going to solve today. So before we can even talk about pollution specifics, we have to start at the very beginning, with the foundational concept for all CSRD reporting, and that is materiality. Think of this as the essential first step that decides what you do and don't have to report on.
What this boils down to is pretty simple. You only have to report on pollution under ESRS E2 times if your own materiality assessment shows that pollution is a significant or material topic for your company. It's all about making sure the final report is focused on what truly matters.
Okay, so let's assume that yes, pollution is a material topic for your organization. What happens next? What does the latest draft version of ESRS E2 actually ask you to do? At its absolute core, the standard is all about transparency and hard numbers. This quote, right from paragraph 14, says it all. The goal is to get companies to disclose the actual amounts of their significant pollutant emissions. It's a huge shift from just making broad statements to providing concrete, quantifiable data. Now here's something that's absolutely crucial to understand. ESRS E2 doesn't live on an island. It's part of a deeply interconnected web. For instance, E3 is about water, but E2 is about the pollutants you might be putting into that water. The pollution data you report for E2 directly feeds into understanding your impacts on biodiversity, on resource use, and even on local communities. It's all connected. The standard itself is neatly structured around 5 key disclosure requirements. It creates a logical path, It starts with a big picture, what are your policies? Then it asks about your actions and targets. And finally, it gets down to the nitty-gritty, the hard data on pollution of air, water, and soil, plus any specific substances of concern. It's a full journey from your strategy all the way to your results.
All right, so that's the what, the requirements. But the big question remains, how do you actually do this efficiently? Let's switch gears from the theory and look at how a professional digital reporting system can bring all of this to life.
The whole approach starts with this powerful idea of creating a digital twin of your organization. Just imagine it, a complete, dynamic model of your operations that acts like a central nervous system for every piece of your sustainability data. It's not static. It's a living representation of your company.
And the backbone, or maybe the skeleton, of this digital twin is something called the asset tree. This is basically the structured hierarchy that maps out every single part of your business that generates data.
This is where you get to build that map. In the system, you can define all your different asset types. And we're talking about tangible, physical things, like your fleet of trucks, your warehouses, and your office buildings. But it's also flexible enough to include organizational units, like the marketing department or a specific regional division. If it generates data, it can be an asset.
So once that structure is in place, the real magic begins. This is where we start turning all that raw data you're collecting into actual report-ready insights. And the key, of course, is automation. The way this works is through a feature called Calculated Data Points. So instead of someone being stuck in a spreadsheet manually crunching numbers, you set up these automated rules. They take raw inputs, like, say, liters of fuel used, and instantly transform them into the exact metrics you need for your CSRD report.
And this is a brilliant example of how powerful that is. The system comes preloaded with standardized conversion factors, like the ones from DEFRA in the UK. This means it can perform really complex but logical calculations on its own, like converting liters of diesel fuel into its CO2 equivalent in kilograms. It's all about ensuring your data is accurate, consistent, and trustworthy.
But what if you need something more specific to your business? No problem. You can just build your own custom formulas. This formula editor lets you pull in different data points, add constants, and create calculations that are perfectly tailored to what you need. And the best part? You can test the formula right there with sample data to make sure it's giving you the right answer before you save it.
And boom, there's our result. The system just runs the test and spits out the answer instantly. This makes building and validating even your most complex calculations incredibly fast and, more importantly, reliable. It just eliminates that risk of human error. Okay, so we've built our digital twin, we're automatically calculating our metrics, we are so close.
Now it's time for that final, absolutely critical step, linking all of this hard work directly to the regulation itself.
You know, this final connection is what makes the whole thing click. It's how you create that clean, clear, auditable line that runs from a data point on the ground all the way to the final number in your official sustainability report.
And inside the system, doing this is incredibly straightforward. You just take a data point that you've created, in this case a metric for air pollution, and you map it directly to the official standard data point from the CSRD framework. Here you can see it's being linked right to ESRS E2, specifically Disclosure Requirement E24. It's that direct.
And that right there is the end game. You've created a direct auditable trail. It means anyone, whether it's an auditor or a key stakeholder, can trace any number in your report all the way back to the original source data and the precise calculations used. It gives you total transparency and makes the entire compliance process robust and so much more efficient.
So there you have it. That's how a powerful digital system can take a complex regulation and transform it into clear, auditable, and truly actionable data. We will see you on the next deep dive.